There's a good chance that right now, today, there is a tree within walking distance of where you are sitting that is quietly pushing hundreds of liters of drinkable liquid through its trunk. Not someday. Right now, for a few weeks, every late winter and early spring, certain trees essentially become natural water sources. The liquid moving through them is mostly water, lightly loaded with sugars and minerals, and humans have been drinking it and surviving on it for thousands of years. Most people know about maple syrup. Almost nobody knows that maple is not even close to the only tree you can tap. There are at least 6. One of them is so common, it gets treated like a weed. One is commercially bottled and sold in health food stores across Scandinavia and Japan right now. And one is probably already in your backyard. In a survival situation, no running water, no stored supply, knowing these 6 trees and when they run could genuinely matter. Stay for number 4. That's the one nobody expects. 30 seconds of science, because once you understand what's happening inside the trunk, everything else clicks. In late winter, before a tree buds, it pushes stored starch upward through the trunk as sugar-loaded sap. The engine is temperature. Cold nights, down into the 20s Fahrenheit, build pressure inside the tree. When days warm above freezing into the 30s and 40s, that pressure releases and sap flows. Tap a hole during that window and the sap runs out on its own. No pumping, no machinery, pure physics. The sap itself is mostly water, 97 to 99% depending on the tree and the day, with dissolved sugars and small amounts of minerals. Fresh from the tree, it tastes like very lightly sweetened water with a faint mineral quality. That's not marketing. That's what it actually is. The window is short. When the tree buds in spring, the chemistry changes, the flavor goes off, and the season closes. You work with nature's schedule. Now, the trees. Number 1, sugar maple, the benchmark. Sugar maple sap runs at roughly 2% sugar on average, which sounds low until you taste it. Fresh sugar maple sap is clean, lightly sweet, with a mineral depth that bottled water doesn't have. A mature sugar maple can produce 10 to 20 gallons of sap over a season. That's a lot of free water coming out of a tree in your yard without boiling, without filtering, without anything but a tap and a clean bucket. The season runs roughly late February through March across much of the northern US and Canada. University of New Hampshire. Extension describes ideal conditions as nights in the 20s and days in the 40s Fahrenheit. When that pattern holds, the sap runs. When the tree buds, it's over. Number 2, red maple and silver maple. The sugar maple's more common cousins and significantly underrated. Red and silver maples grow in yards, along streets, at the edges of parking lots across North America. People manage them as ornamental trees with no idea they're tappable. The honest difference from sugar maple, slightly lower sugar content, which matters if you're making syrup but is almost irrelevant if you're drinking the fresh sap directly. The experience is the same. If you have one of these and no sugar maple, you are not missing out. Number 3, Boxelder. This is the sleeper. Boxelder is technically a maple. It's in the ACRE family, but it looks nothing like one. It has compound leaves, grows fast, and most people who have one wish they didn't. It gets treated as a weed tree. Tap it anyway. Minnesota Extension explicitly lists boxelder as tappable for sap, alongside sugar maple, silver maple, and black walnut. Same cold night, warm day schedule. Same drinkable sap. In a survival scenario where you're working with what's available, the tree people want to cut down might be the one keeping you hydrated. Number 4, black walnut. Here it is. This is the one. Black walnut sap is tappable, drinkable, and runs on the same late winter schedule as maple. Minnesota Extension mentions it in the same breath as the maples, but what makes black walnut genuinely different is the flavor. People who have tasted it describe a faint nuttiness. Subtle, not overwhelming, but unmistakably there. You're drinking water that has passed through a black walnut tree and carries the faintest signature of that. Not like eating a walnut, more like a memory of one. Most people who have a black walnut tree know it only as the thing dropping ammunition on their driveway in autumn. The same tree is quietly running drinkable sap with a completely unique flavor profile in February. That gap between what people know and what's actually there is the whole point of this video. Number 5, birch. This is where it gets genuinely interesting, historically and practically. Birch sap is bottled, sold, and consumed as a health drink across Finland, Sweden, Latvia, Russia, and Japan right now. There are companies built entirely around it. In North America, almost nobody taps birch. The knowledge exists. It just fell out of practice while maple scaled into an industry. Here's the European history that most people have never heard. During the Swedish famine of 1867, birch trees became so critical to survival that people called the birch the poor man's cow. Families who had nothing else tapped birch to get through the winter. In medieval Europe, healers like St. Hildegard of Bingen in the 12th century prescribed birch sap to treat ailments including kidney stones and ulcers. This wasn't fringe folk belief. It was in the medical texts of the time, recommended by the most respected healers in Europe. Research published on European tree sap use shows it was fermented into light ales and wines across Scandinavia, Poland, Slovakia, and Romania, and urban taverns in the late 18th century were serving birch sap wine as a commercial product. The practice was that widespread. What makes birch different from maple for your purposes? The season runs after maple, typically April into May in many regions, so you can tap maple in February and March, then move to birch in April and potentially extend your freshwater season by weeks. The sugar content is lower, around 1%, making it lighter and more water-like. The flavor is delicate, barely sweet, faintly mineral, with a woodsy quality that disappears quickly on the palate. The critical rule with birch: it is more perishable than maple sap. University of Alaska, Fairbanks. Extension is specific. Keep it at 41 degrees Fahrenheit or colder out of direct sunlight and use it fast. Treat it like fresh juice, not tap water. Get it cold immediately or you will waste everything you collected. Number 6, Sycamore. The experimental one, and I'm going to be honest about what the evidence actually says. American sycamore, the big, patchy bark tree along riverbanks and field edges, is actively being researched for sapie and syrup production. Published studies exist. Small-scale producers are experimenting with it. The sap runs and is drinkable, but the evidence base is smaller than for maple, birch, or walnut. This is the frontier edge of the tapping world, where curious people are still figuring things out, which is exactly what makes it worth knowing about. If you have a sycamore and nothing else, you now know it's an option. How to actually do this. $15 of tools, indefinite lifespan. Find a healthy tree with a diameter of at least 12 inches measured at chest height. University of New Hampshire. Extension recommends 1 tap for trees between 12 and 18 inches, and no more than 2 taps for trees over 18 inches. Don't overtap. The tree is doing you a favor. Drill a hole at chest height angled slightly upward, about 5 degrees, 1.5 to 2 inches deep. Insert a spile, which is a small metal or plastic tap available, online for around $10 for a pack of 10. Attach a clean, food-grade collection container below. Check it daily. On a good running day, a productive maple tap can give you a gallon or more. On a slow day, almost nothing. That variability is normal. You are working with a living tree responding to weather. When the season ends and the tree buds, pull your spiles. The hole seals itself within weeks. The tree recovers fully. You have not harmed it. The one thing you have to get right: fresh sap is perishable. It is not shelf-stable. Get it cold immediately and treat it like fresh juice. For maple, you have a few days refrigerated. For birch, you have almost no time. Use it within a day or two. If you want to be cautious, bring it to a gentle boil before drinking. That's not required for clean sap from a healthy tree with clean gear, but it's the sensible call in any situation where hygiene isn't certain. The people who taught this first were not survivalists with gear lists. Indigenous peoples across North America were already collecting and processing maple sap before Europeans arrived on this continent. Colonists learned maple sugaring directly from indigenous people. The entire maple syrup industry traces back to knowledge that was already here. And on the other side of the world, Scandinavian, Russian, and Eastern European communities were tapping birch independently, arriving at the same answer from the same trees through the same winters with no contact with each other. That's not coincidence. That's humans paying attention to what's around them. A tree that looks completely dead in February is moving hundreds of liters of liquid through its trunk right now. That liquid will flow out of a $15 tap into a clean bucket, and you can drink it. Sugar maple, red maple, boxelder, black walnut, birch, sycamore. 6 trees. Some of them probably within walking distance of you right now. The season is short. It comes back every year, and now you know which trees to look at differently. That's it for me today. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.